Hey, Pelicans fans, welcome to another episode of State of the Pelicans. I'm here with a very special guest. He's coming live from Vegas. We've got Gus here with us, and he is, as you know, of course, ESPN radio host of Sports Hangover. He's got one of the best voices in radio for sure. So, great perspective.
Really?
We're ready to hear from him. Oh yeah, I love it. It's a good one. It's like got that just perfect radio feel to it. So, I love your show. I love it. So thank you for being on with me tonight while we go ahead and talk about the Pelicans ahead of summer games getting started. And so tell me a little bit about Vegas, where you're at right now, and what's kind of the vibe there.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think coming up here for me personally, from a Pelican standpoint, I was excited just because obviously there's a lot of buzz and a lot of talk about this team, right? No matter
Mhm.
how you look at it. If you just look at it from roster construction to how do you improve to how you get better, and kind of the fire from incredible sites like yours, and fans that have gotten so much more involved. Look, I will take that any day. I love that. Um, I remember, I don't know, the first year they got here, which is now over 10, 15 years ago, people didn't want to really follow the basketball team. It was very football, very Saints, give the score sort of thing where I worked. And it's like, yeah, I kind of wanted to follow it and enjoyed it, to where it's now where you have so many fan sites, you have so many different podcasts, you have so much involvement that I love, because that means you're excited about it. And it forces us to actually, really provide content, and not just that, but it gives us somebody to relate to and be a part of. And I think that's what I enjoy the most out of it is there's GMs everywhere. Who do you trade Brandon Ingram
Right.
to? Who do you not? Jordan Hawkins just started. I mean, I tease Willie Green every time I see him. I'm like, probably everywhere you go now, somebody has an opinion as to what rotations, out of timeout plays. I mean, all those
Yep.
different things. And I think that's fantastic. So the vibe is an interesting one because of the fact that this team is trying to contend in the West, trying to compete in an arms race that is the Western
Right.
Conference. And then you take a look basically at what you have to do that. You have to make some moves. And, obviously the DeJounte Murray presser this week, to me, I don't know how you can't win a press conference, or you can win a press conference better than that. And I said on my talk show on Monday, it reminded me of, or Tuesday was it? Yeah, it was Tuesday, where it reminded me of when Drew Brees, got to
Hmm.
the same. And Chrissy, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that DeJounte Murray's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying the Larry O'Brien's coming like the Lombardi. I'm not saying any of that. But the reason I felt that was because at the time that Drew showed up, that franchise needed leadership, needed stewardship. It needed a captain, it needed somebody to be like, I'm it, an ambassadorship, the leader, kind of grab a locker room of people that had chips on their shoulders from Fujitas and stuff of that
Mhm.
nature, our names like Reggie Bush and things that, and then, mesh it, mix it, and relate it to what the coach was trying to get you to do. And
Right.
that's what stood out to me in that presser on Tuesday. Willie Green's followed DeJounte Murray from the get go. You saw and heard all of that. So that just is exciting in and of itself. I mean, I can talk an hour about what I extrapolated from that presser.
Yeah.
Then you add the young guys. I mean, look, I joke on our pregame, halftime, postgame, talk show, whatever show. I would love this team to dunk more. We lay up the ball too much, So
Yes.
that there's an Eves Misi, and I was at practice today. He's dunking. It was great. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow calling some dunks, not just from him, but a couple of the other guys. So,
Yeah.
and seeing Jordan Hawkins, a guy that I think a lot of fans want to see, want to
Yeah.
see play and shoot the ball. And it was fun. So, I mean, I think the vibe for us and people that cover or work for the Pels is kind of excitement because it's on. I mean, it's no longer we hope to be. It's the expectation, the fire level. Everybody knows what's at stake, sort of here, and that makes it fun because it's no one's bleeping around anymore. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it is fun. That's definitely the vibe I'm feeling too, especially the excitement that's come with Murray being added to the team now. And he's a spark and something that we needed, and something we've been missing. We need some more 3-point shooting, and we need some more dunking, and so we're
Yeah.
going to be able to get both of those for sure. Um, But there is still a couple of big questions, like what's going to happen with BI? Are we going to sign a center? There's so many rumors out there. And like you said, every fan has a great opinion on what to do and the solution for it. So, what are you, in your opinion, what do you see happening with BI? Do you see us moving him now and trying to get, some kind of, center piece that we need? Or, I'm hearing so many rumors. It's kind of wild. So what's your opinion on that?
What I do is look at it logically, right? If there wasn't a case for that to happen, then you wouldn't be hearing that. You wouldn't be hearing that teams are interested or people that cover the league nationally bring that up. And then you add the other part of the logic is, okay, well, what's the value in any trade whatsoever? And in whatever trade that you want to have, then what can you get out of that? And so then I use my third piece of logic. You got a guy that averages 20 points a game. You have a guy that helped you get close to 50 wins a game. Season a year ago. I thought he had one of his best seasons as a pro in terms that he improved defensively. He's a leader in assists. So those are areas of his game that grew. I know totally where a lot of the got to move on from a player or so based on what you last saw. And, he was injured, came back, he's playing, and you don't have your best player, And so we saw what we saw. Now, we saw what we saw. So what was that? Was it injury? Was it, hey, does he have trouble creating his own shot and getting in space and things of that nature? Well, everybody did. No one on that team could score. That's why you got swept 4 games. And I think a lot of it was because of not having Z. But it's a lot of the different areas that you saw and heard David Griffin talk about at the end of the year. Need more shot creators, need more playmakers. You heard David Griffin say that this week in the DeJounte Murray press conference. They needed playmakers and people that can contribute and do that. And he said, look, sometimes on basketball teams, you have too many, people that want to create and do that. And he said, sometimes you don't. And I think that's the obvious thing about it. And some of the players are no longer with the team via trade or signing elsewhere, like Najee and Jonas. Loved them. I was a huge Jonas fan, double guy, right? Yep. But if the team feels that they need a different type of center, that's what the team sort of feels. But my thing that I would always say on broadcast or even on our talk show, it's tough having a guy like Zion and people that aren't shooters. They're not known it. I'm not saying that Najee or Jose or any of those guys can't knock down a 3. Of course they can.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
But are you known as that, right? I'm 5'7". I'm not walking onto a basketball court and people are thinking that I'm going to, pound the paint down low. That's just not what I'm going to do. So you saw, again, logically, teams do what they were doing with Zion, forming a wall, making him, go through 3-4 defenders 20, 30 feet from the basket. That's even on a made shot, So when you add all of that, I think what you're seeing is, okay, you need to add shooting, you need to add this, you need to do those different things. Well, then again, back to your question when you're saying, like, what happens with BI? He can score. He can score. And I was talking about right after I heard on Tuesday DeJounte talk, what happens if you actually bring in a point guard, like a real point guard? And honest to goodness, I made it to the NBA based on being a point guard. Point guard jobs descriptions, right? If you and I were hiring a point guard, if we looked at it like a job, we would write the description. Job requirements. What are you looking to do, right? Experience. How long have you played point guard? So if I look at it like that, that's what I've always screamed. I'm like, get somebody who knows how to handle the basketball, knows what to do with the basketball, is a floor general, understands, as Antonio Daniel said on my talk show, time, space, shot clock, moment, feel of the game. Like, we need to slow it down here, or we need to push the pace. How do I get this guy going? If this guy is hot, I need to feed him the ball, get down there, get calling a play. If somebody is smoking and he's knocking down a couple of threes, like we've seen CJ do, like we've seen BI do, and he's knocking down, a point guard can dribble to an area, can dribble to a space, pull the defense, penetrate, kick it, give him space, continue that. And I think that's kind of what you saw. So I'm curious, and I look at it like this again logically. If you're not blown away by a deal or an offer, why would you just trade somebody to just trade somebody? The only reason we're talking about it, right, is because of where you are in the length of the contract as well. Let's be honest. Not everybody, but one or two teams that make the finals is happy about the performance of players, right? I mean, it's what it is.
True,
Again, is that, are we even having this discussion if Zion doesn't get injured and Luke Dort is covering Zion and BI is not being covered by a physical defender? I don't know. I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if it's different. Maybe we are talking about the same because of money. The new CBA has a lot to do with it as well. You know, you've heard aprons, first apron, second apron, luxury tax, all that. Easiest way to look at it is like this. The more you spend and the higher you go in these different tax brackets, to say that, the less a team can do. So you can't sign players for mid-level exceptions or things like that. You got to sign for bare minimums. It hinders and restricts what teams can do if you have multiple max contract players. Yeah, today at practice, Trey Murphy was there. He spoke with David Griffin a lot. His team sees Trey Murphy as a building piece, a cornerstone. He's going to need a different contract other than his rookie contract. So you have to, and look, you listen to what David Griffin said. They love Brandon Ingram. Again, he averages 20 points a game. So I totally believe and think, I think you're starting to see, let me see what happens here. I mean, you have all those different options. You have DeJounte Murray, who mentioned in the press conference that, he called him his brother. I mean, he has a relationship with him.
Yeah.
Again,
you don't just say that lightly. I don't think in a press conference, knowing what's going on.
Yeah. He's not a bad basketball player. So, I mean, I just think, you look at time and place, and obviously if you're a player, you're going to try to get as much as you can. That makes perfect sense. And then the team has to do what is responsible for everybody else as well. So I do think this, I would say, is Chrissy. I don't know it. I've seen David Griffin a couple of times since we've been here. I haven't asked him about it, but you asked to start this about the mood and the vibe. I have been around this organization, the Saints. You talked about being in sports as well. You've been around environments where there's contention, right? Where there's mistrust, where there's angst, when there's, nobody buys in or believes that there's leadership. Like, we've all known it. Like, we knew when a GM was on a hot seat or a coach was about to get fired. We know a player's about to get traded. We know they're about to blow everybody. Like, you feel it. You feel it days and weeks before. If you travel with the team, if you cover the team, it's people's heads are down, the mood, you feel it. That is not the case. And I bring that up only because I think it's very unique when you think of a player of his caliber and his name and his name's being, and you don't sense that. You don't feel that at all. It's not like people like, no one's in the corner, whispering, and it's just not. I mean, so I think it's okay, this is where we are. You want this. We're willing to offer you this. Okay. So if we can't agree, that's where we are right now. But I think from the reports that you see, there's kind of a mutual understanding and a mutual respect. I even saw one report that said that Brandon Ingram said something along the lines of the fact that they're not just jumping at the first offer is a sign of respect because they value who he is, if that makes any sense to you. So it's sticky, but I think, again, I'm looking at it from a fan and a basketball standpoint. I mean, give me at least a preseason game, to see what it looks like to have the on the court, with him. So that's me.
I agree. I feel the same way. I definitely don't want to trade him just to trade him. But I think he does bring a lot of value. And if we can kind of get him to work within the system, not that he's not working within the system, but we do need to open up that space for Zion more. So when you obviously have more 3-point threats, like you're saying, where they're 3-point threats, not just, this guy can knock a bucket down every now and then from behind the arc. When you know that you have that, it's going to automatically open things up for him down there. And that's who they're building around. And they should be building around him because, he's a amazing talent. So I agree with you. I would love to see BI out there with them and see what could happen. I mean, that's a lot of talent on the court at one time at this
Well, and
point,
look,
So
the other thing too, Chrissy, is the team likes him. This isn't
mhm,
one of those. He's a malcontent. He doesn't hang around. He
right.
doesn't do those things. I just mentioned one of the future cornerstone pieces. Trey Murphy's like I work. I mean, like that's my guy. He's taking me
Yeah.
under his wing. We train together. We work out together. We do those things. DeJounte Murray mentioned Tuesday. I called him the morning of the trade and said, dude, is this going to happen or not? So I think a lot of times because he's not the rah-rah sort of guy and something like that, maybe outgoing that some fans, maybe tend to look at and everything, maybe don't understand how much he actually is involved. But I talk to people on the team. He is absolutely one of the team leaders. He is
Yeah.
somebody that is always at the gym, always working out, is into film studies, very basketball smart. And by every indication, I've never heard, he's a poop head or something like that nature to his
Right.
teammates. Or that's like that. I've never heard that. So I think that's the thing that stands out to me. So when you have that, I saw an article this morning from one of the USA Today writers on Trey Murphy, who's out here working out with Team USA
Mhm.
about Brandon Ingram and how tough is it to see all the rumors and the reports on it. He's like,
Yeah.
it is, but we understand it's a business. You have to do what's best for you. And that's kind of what I was explaining, Chrissy. I think everyone loves him. Everyone understands, hey, I'm going to be in that situation one day. I'm a player, so I'm going to ask for
Yeah.
everything. I mean, right? I mean, you go into negotiations for a job, you're not going to undersell you. Let
Yeah.
them counter and see if you can come to that
Right.
agreement or not. So there's the business side. There's the aspect that I think everybody respects him. They understand what's happening, and I think there is a understanding on how the organization's handling it. They're not out there making it seem like he's 2 cents on the dollar or anything of that nature. And
Right.
um, I think that makes them respect. And like I said, I saw several players today speaking with. I got no sense of, oh, I don't trust this guy anymore or something.
Yeah.
I didn't. So that's why I'm glad you asked about the vibe, because it just you wouldn't even know, if that was happening.
Right.
So
Well, and I think that the camaraderie that they have already built together, that's worth in dollars as well. Because yeah, BI is a good player. Any other team that was to take him, it takes time to build that camaraderie and those relationships. And he's already got that in New Orleans. So, I think if the money could work out, I mean, they would want to keep that piece together just so that they can
yeah,
keep the camaraderie, a talented player, and this group that's been building and building. And hopefully this is going to be a really incredible year for the Pelicans. I know that the organization wants it. The fans are ready for it. We're ready to get out of the playing game. We're happy to have a winning season, but
I know
let's actually host a home playoff series. How incredible would that be?
it'd be great. And look, here's the thing, and I've brought this up on the talk show several times too. It's like I understand let's take that next big step. And where are we? We're getting, this team's making this move and we're not. Look, I'm not being ugly. I think it would be the same thing. This team absolutely should have won 50 games or more. They blew 12-14, like blew
Yes.
them. And didn't close out games. There was a stat that I can't think of right now, but there was something like 0-24, something like that, going into the fourth quarter or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that was rough. That was bad.
Well
And that's
below
bad.
500. Yeah, well below 500 if they didn't lead going into halftime. I mean, going into the second
Yeah.
half. So basically, if this team wasn't leading at
Right.
halftime, they lost. That's not, can BI get off a shot? That's a
Exactly.
lot of
Yeah.
things that aren't
Mm-hmm.
happening
Yep.
when you have a record. It was silly. It was something like 4-24. I mean, it wasn't close. It went like
I remember
13.
the stat. Yeah. And it
Yeah,
was really
it was
mind-blowing because you were just
mind-boggling.
like, yeah, it
Because
was.
we've all been like, we understand the stat leading, under 5 minutes or fourth quarter, you haven't got, but to hear the stat when you include the
Mm-hmm.
third quarter,
Yeah.
that's a lot more than
Yeah.
BI. That's a lot more than
Exactly.
Jonas not running up and down the
Mm-hmm.
court. So, which is why, again, I was so excited about Tuesday, hearing what Murray can do. That guy's a closer. That guy's going to help, which is why I
I
just
love
brought him
that.
into with BI. I mean, you know what? I'm not asking BI now if Zion's hurt or not playing or CJ's off or Zion is off that night. I'm not asking him to take on 2-3 players, shot clock's running, and create his own shot. I got a guy in Murray who's going to do that for you, if that makes any sense, just because
Yes.
of what he does. Just the fact that in the last 2 years, I don't know if you saw that this morning, the Pelicans posted the fact in the last 3 years combined, it's DeJounte Murray and Herb Jones that have the most steals combined in the NBA,
Yeah.
over 300. So, I mean, that's all going to
right.
help. Yeah, exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. That's all going to help. So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, I see what you want to do. You know what we have to do. In the meantime, there's no hurry. I mean, honestly, to me, there's no hurry because what's also been brought up to me is, well, aren't you going to try to use the Brandon Ingram piece to all do that to try to get a center and all that? If those deals were there, they would have been made, I guess is the way I look at it from that perspective. I don't think the roster is completely done yet. And for all I know, we can get done this and another trade could be happening. I'm just kind of giving you my logical look at it, vibe that I get a sense and feel. And from a basketball sense, I got a guy that scores 20 points a game. I'm not ready. Just here you go. So let's see.
Well, and honestly, after reading people that say whatever on Twitter, it's nice to hear logic involved in these moves that are potentially, and I think what you're saying is completely accurate about BI. I mean, he's a good player. I mean, he's not. If we're building around Zion, great. That doesn't diminish what BI is and what he's brought to the team when he's healthy. So. Yeah. I agree with you, and I would love to see BI on this team. I think we'd be stacked. I'm a little worried that we don't have the centerpiece sort of worked a little bit better, but I mean, I think that some really big things could happen. I at least want to see a little bit of it.
I'm with you, and I will say this: I do think the center position is coming back, sort of like the tight end run back game in NFL, and you see it, and it does, help you, but I mean it's respectfully. Because I love Jonas. So I'm not directing towards him, but I don't remember last year. I mean, I said this in support of Jonas. I was like, I don't ever remember starting a show or doing a post game for the Pels and going, man, Pels could have won tonight, but Jonas Valanciunas was on the floor in his defense. I don't remember that. I remember him getting rebounds. I remember him shooting free throws. I remember him playing games. So I didn't feel that. And conversely, I never really honestly sat there and said, man, if the Pels had a center, or they lost because they didn't have this kind of center, or this team beat us because of that center. When I think of center in traditional sense, there really aren't that many anymore. It's Joel Embiid, right? But even him, he plays away from the rim and stuff. So I look at it like this, honestly. I think is the best way that I've been trying to convey it to people. Yes, you're right. In theory, you don't have a starting center of many games and name right now on the roster. Yes, you're right. Can this team not win? Because I don't know. Because my thing is, it was proven last year. This team won 49 games. The team could have won over 50 games. They didn't because they didn't execute in the last 5 minutes. Do the Pels right now on this roster have players that they can put in the final 5 minutes to help close? And is it detrimental if you don't have a big, like right now you're seeing guys, and it probably made me, you pull hair out like I did. You will see a guy today drive down the lane at the rim, kick it out for a three. In clutch time, you'll see it in the first quarter. You'll see it with 2 to shoot, with 40 seconds to play, down 2.
Right,
down
you're right.
1. Then I'm like, what are you doing? The league has become this area where they value the 3-point shot more than any other. And so, again, unless you find a big who's 7 foot or above that can shoot the 3, run the floor, get up, which, by the way, notice as I keep putting fingers up, price goes up, value goes up.
Yeah.
They're not lying around. So I don't know. I think, yes. Would you like to add to that position group for depth and leadership and veteranship, or, Productability, yeah, I don't think they're done. They haven't said they're done. So I think something still happens. I still think you try to find something. But again, I just kind of go through like, I don't think that that's what I'm trying to use. There's maybe 2 or 3 players that you would want to use a trade for to get those. They're not available right now.
Right. They're not out there. So what's the point?
So yeah, let's go see what happens. Like, I don't know. I mean, look, you closed out games last year, and again, bless his heart, with Larry Nance, who might score, might miss a dunk, might run, may not run, was shorter than all the other centers he was playing. So, and you still, again, won 49 games that way. So I guess the whole point of this, whether it's BI, whether it's trading for somebody else, whether it's using anyone else on this roster, it's what I keep saying on my talk show. A team that almost won 50 should have won 50 or more.
Right. Yeah.
How much do I really want to blow that up, if that makes any sense? And look, you already lost 4 players of your top 9 players in minutes. So there is some change coming. I mean, there was no doubt there's some change coming, Najee, Jonas, and the other players that got traded. I mean,
Dyson.
Dyson. I mean, they saw a lot of minutes. I mean, it's going to happen. So, I mean, I don't know, but it is interesting when you think of 4 of 9 players in the most minutes are no longer with your team. So that means some of the other guys that I think a lot of fans wanted to see, Jordan Hawkins, maybe Messi gets in some more action, maybe Matt Ryan, gets off the bench. And those all 3-point shooting. So I think it was clear. You need shots, you need shot creation, you need threes. So again, how many times? It's almost like, do I really need with whether it's Kamara or somebody else, are we really valuing that center position almost like the run game or something? It's nice to have. If you can find it, great. And try to use it and stuff. But I don't think the Pels win or lose games based off of the center position, if that makes any sense, next year. I mean, it'll help them. Yeah. I'm not saying it won't. And I'm not saying maybe it might keep them from a win, but like no one right now is putting up the graphic on the, unless, like I said, 2 or 3 names max that I'm putting, in the group right now. If I'm taking a photo or posting it on the arena or, what's the photo you're going to use for the schedule, it's Zion, it's DeJounte Murray, it's Trey, what I'm saying? Yeah. It's the center, if that makes any sense. It could be wrong.
I love it. I think that's such a great perspective. It really gives a lot of insight because there is so much conversation around that. But I mean, honestly, I totally agree with you about that. That really makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't know that is the missing piece. And it's something that I think, I mean, in a perfect world, if we could have one, and sure. But it would need to be all of those things. So
yeah, I guess the way I say it to Chris on the show, I use it like a jersey sellers is what I call them. Like there's the Saints. You need jersey sellers. You need guys that make you want to go, buy a jersey because they're either making shots, making plays. They're jersey sellers for a reason. And it was interesting earlier this week on my talk show. I was like, look, are we buying a jersey on an offensive lineman for the Saints? Like, you got to go all the way back to Willie Rose. I had somebody call and say Kyle Turley. I
know.
I have a great friend, Sean Fox, who does a show up in Monroe. He had a few the night of the draft, and he swore the guy's name was Tallahassee and Fuego instead of, Tulasi Fuega. So anyway, I thought it was interesting, but that's the point, right? So we're going to the Pels team store. You walk past, Valley Sports there, and there's Antonio. You wave to Jen Hale. You walk into the team store. Are you going to buy the jersey of the center? Maybe it's 2 or 3 in the league. That's all I'm saying, right? Like, I'm talking about now this very second. You're probably going to go walk in and get a DeJounte Murray, a Herb Jones, a Trey Murphy, a CJ McCollum, a Jordan Hawkins even. I mean, look, Najee that poor guy was trying to give away shoes after a game.
Bless his heart. I would have gladly taken them had I been there.
Yeah, our broadcast engineer during the games, conductor Chris Moran, he was very saddened. He actually has a Najee Marshall jersey, and he lost his mind when he found out Najee was outside with a pair of shoes and no one would take them. So
I couldn't believe that. I thought that was ridiculous.
People love Jose, right? I mean, people.
Yeah.
I just named 7 to 8 Pels, and I love Jonas. People love Jonas. I love Jonas. I was a huge fan.
Yep.
I didn't see many Jonas jerseys though, so I'm not. And that's not to say that they're not valuable. It's not to say that you need to go get that. You do. Look, you have a player that you just signed that was contemplating going to Europe. Signed a 1-year deal. So that's not right. I just saw my first practice of Yves Misi. My first practice. He hasn't even played a game yet. So there is no doubt that this organization knows that and sees that. There will be something, I'm assuming, right? Along those lines to add to that. But, I think the excitement level for this team right now is based off of what they have on their roster currently. And they don't have, the star center or something, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Which, I'm okay with at this point. So let me ask you last question. Right now, who would be your starting 5 of the Pelicans with the team roster as it is?
Oh, boy. As it is. So you got DeJounte, you got Zion. I would say, you have to start Herb Jones because, again, I mentioned that stat, right, that had those 2 players that can really, stand up for you and get all those steals, which can create transition baskets and fast break opportunities. I still think a lot of people would like to see Trey Murphy, get a start or play the way that he did. So if it's DeJounte, if it's Zion, if it's Herb, if it's Trey, I'm probably going with CJ. I mean, that would be my 5, as is right now. And whoever is big enough to go down there and below and bang and get boards. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's not a closing 5, if that's not the the case.
Yeah.
So
and I could see that being.
Yeah, and look, think of the options there. I mean, think of the options that DeJounte has. For real. I can drive, pick and roll, got somebody that can go to the line and be strong like Zion. Which, again, the whole point, as Barkley was saying at the end of the playoffs, in his last game against the Lakers, get this guy a point guard so he doesn't take the beating that he does and doesn't have to take on 3 or 4 players.
Right, yes.
You got a penetrating guard and the ball's moving because of that, then that should help. You shouldn't have that many stagnant possessions late in the game because the players that aren't used to being ball handlers in those moments don't have the basketball, so
correct.
The possessions where we're going, pass it, shoot it, pass it. You look at the play clock and it's 5, it's 4, it's 3.
Yeah.
Do something. Well,
do something.
Again, I mean, look, since CJ got here, I don't want to be a point guard. Brandon Ingram's not a point guard. Zion Williamson, Zion's fun, but the guy literally takes on 5 people. So I just named 3 things that help cause inefficiency on offense, stagnation on offense, turnovers on offense. One player could help that in DeJounte. So that's why I'm kind of the same thing with the whole center thing. I don't need this center to go out there and shoot the 3. If I look left, CJ can hit it. If I look right, Trey Murphy can hit it. If I drive, they cover Zion on the baseline. I'll just quickly slip it out. And on each elbow, Brandon Ingram can knock down a mid-range jumper. So there's so many options that the 5th option is the center, if that makes sense. So
true,
I don't know if I just talked myself into it or not. I promise this is just water. I'm just looking at it logically.
Hey, you are in Vegas, okay, guys?
If you look behind the monitor, there's stuff for tonight.
I would love to see that lineup. I'd love to see it starting. I'd love to see it finishing. I'm convinced we don't need to go get a center. Just keep the team, and we're good to go. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
I get it and do so, but and look, I understand a lot of times everyone's like make a move to make a move, compete, and it's a horse race and all these other options. But I guess what I'm trying to say, and believe me, I'm not talking for him, but I don't think there's a GM in the world that would usher out an all-star player, a team leader, a guy that actually wants to be here and likes the organization, because those are hard to find. And by the way, did I mention averages 20 points and was your team leader and assist at some point and plays defense? This coach likes defense. This coach likes defense in a player that cares and can shoot. So again, there's maybe 2 or 3 names of players that I can think of that fine, almost begrudgingly you do it again because of contract. If B.I. had 3 more years on this deal right now, we're not even talking about this. I don't know if we're even talking about this for 2 more years of his deal.
I don't think so.
It's because there's 1 year left. And there's that notion that I want to get something for nothing. I don't want to lose him. Obviously, players want stability. Players want to know this is coming. So that's why you always see players negotiate with a year out. That's why Trey Murphy's name is popped. I mean, this is normal. I mean, this is understandable and normal and logical. So, and that's why I just keep going back to didn't get that sense in the vibe. Believe me, I've been in stands before, whether it's here, whether it's New Orleans, and whether it's a Saints locker room or Pelicans Hornets locker room, you can sense, man, something's going down. You can sense
right.
it.
You can. Yeah.
I don't feel it.
Well, good. I mean, that's great to hear. And all Pelicans fans should be happy to hear that, good vibes going on, and hopefully BI is going to stick around. And I guess what you're really saying is we're going to win the championship this year. So that's great.
Well, I tell you, it's hard because that's the thing. You mentioned it several times, and I know I get it a lot too with our listeners. And it was a point I brought up a lot. There's no sugarcoating it. Completely disappointing the way the season ended. You had such a great year. You had Brandon Ingram and Zion play the most games they've ever played in their NBA careers, and you were a week before the regular season ended, in 4th place. You were hosting a playoff series. You were within earshot of the 3rd seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got hurt. And then it changed a little bit in the offense. And then you lost your footing on that. And then, the guy who's scoring 40 points against the Lakers there, it's hurt. I mean, I haven't been that deflated in a long time because, and it wasn't even just because like of course it wasn't like we're jinxed. I felt bad for him. Like
I did too.
You don't play the way he did towards the end of the year. You don't transform your body the way he did. He woke up, he matured, he grew up, he realized, hey, it's time. And he was playing well. He got angry. He's cursing. He's getting technical fouls at the official. I mean, people that don't care don't do that. That makes sense.
Right.
So it was deflating from that standpoint. I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? Like this guy has been all season. It pushed him. It drove him. He wanted to taste postseason basketball. And literally the game that puts him in there, he gets hurt. And of course, because it is New Orleans and the Pelicans, it's not a bobo, it's not a turn ankle, it's not a stub toe.
No,
it's an injury that we'll see 4 to 6 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't do things lightly here. Okay, not even injuries.
It's unreal. I mean, it's crazy.
I know.
I mean, and I guess that's what I look at it, man. It's just this team has potential. I thought in that article too. With Trey Murphy, he brought it up. We're young. We're going to make mistakes, but we're going to mature and going to learn from that. And there's no other sport. I talk about this in my talk show all the time, whether it's baseball, whether it's football. You very rarely see any other sport other than the NBA. You have to take your lessons, your lumps. It's a process. Like you don't skip them. Serious. I've brought this up before. The Pistons had overcome the Celtics. The Bulls had overcome the Pistons. The Warriors were good, had to get a new coach, had to overcome it. Look at the Celtics. They couldn't get out of the conference finals, won the conference, went to the finals, couldn't, cash in on the finals. Finally won the finals a year ago. It just, you have to taste heartache in the NBA. You have to get ticked off. And then you make the run. I've never, it's not like that anywhere else. It really honestly isn't. It's almost like it's a rite of passage. You have to have angst in the NBA. You have to go through it. You just do. It's like the crucible. I don't know how else to describe it.
I feel like the Pelicans have dealt with that. And you can see them growing from it. You've seen the last
Mhm.
couple of years, like you said, like what we saw with some of the guys this year that are they are craving that postseason run. And, who knows, maybe this will be the year that they get to taste it and we do too. So, but Gus, I can't thank you enough for being on with me
Sure.
today. This has been some great information, and I'm excited to get this out to Pelicans world here, so they can get to hear everything that you're experiencing over there. So, thank you, and you're welcome back anytime. Love to have you, and really appreciate all your input tonight.
Yeah, for sure, Chrissy. Thank you so much. Just ask. I'll be around throughout the whole season, everything. And Aaron Summers is going to do color tomorrow. I'm going to be doing play-by-play. We have Jim Eichenhofer with us here as well. He'll be jumping in. We have Bryson Graham tomorrow. We hope to have even head coach Willie Green and a couple of other guests here as well. And even if there's some players on our broadcast. So pelicans.com, same thing. You can click on the app. You can listen to it on your phone and all that stuff. You'll hear us talking about, the game that's going on. So give us a listen.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll definitely check you out. Thank you for letting us know about that too. All right. We'll have a great time in Vegas. We'll be in touch soon.
For sure.
Right, bye.
See you later.